God's chosen ones. Before God blesses you big, these signs will appear. It starts when everything that once made sense doesn't. You're praying more but hearing less. Doors that used to open now stay shut. People you trusted begin to fade without a word. And deep down, your spirit whispers, "This is not coincidence." You don't know why, but you know something's coming. The pressure has increased. The peace has shifted, and you feel like you're standing in the hallway of heaven, where everything is closing, except one door. You've been asking, God, where are you? But what if he's closer now than he's ever been? Because before God blesses you big, he blesses you quiet. And the silence you're sitting in, it's not absence, it's alignment. Type 777 if your soul has been stirred. And, something greater is near. You didn't imagine this shift. This is your confirmation. God is preparing to give you something big. What if it's not falling apart, but falling into place? You've been holding it together barely, smiling through exhaustion, praising through panic, trusting through the silence. But lately, something's shifted. People are leaving. Doors are closing. What once felt familiar now feels foreign. And though no one says it out loud, your soul keeps whispering, "Something is happening, and I don't know what it is." You're not alone in that ache. Joseph felt it too. He had dreams, big, divine dreams. But before they came true, his life unraveled. He was betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, thrown into a prison he didn't deserve. Nothing about it looked like a blessing, but every single moment was positioning. Because when God prepares to release something big, he rearranges everything. The pain wasn't punishment, it was prophecy. And just like Joseph, you may be standing in a pit, surrounded by silence, wondering if God forgot you. But heaven didn't forget. Heaven is working behind the curtain. And every person who walked away, every door that slammed shut, every spiritual ache in your chest wasn't just happening to you. It was happening for you. You've been asking for clarity, for confirmation, for something, anything to make it all make sense. This is it. These are the signs that you're not being punished, you're being prepared. Now take a deep breath. Let your heart slow down. Let your spirit listen. Because what I'm about to share with you might explain everything you've been feeling. These are the 4 signs God is about to release something big into your life. Part 1. The crushing before the crown. You've been in a fight you never asked for. Battle after battle, and you don't even remember when it began. It's not just one thing. It's everything. Finances are tight. Your body feels tired. Relationships are strained. And no matter how much you pray, it still feels like you're sinking. You look around at people who aren't even trying, and they seem to be soaring. But you, the one who's fasting, trusting, waiting, you feel like you're being crushed. But what if this pressure is the proof? What if this is not punishment, but prophecy? Joseph didn't go straight from dream to destiny. He went from dream, betrayal, slavery, prison. Not because he was forgotten, but because he was favored. Heaven doesn't crown who it hasn't crushed. And when God chooses to elevate you, he first breaks everything in you that would sabotage the blessing. Not to destroy you, but to define you. The betrayal toughens your skin. The delays stretch your faith. The prison teaches you how to pray even when the door is locked. Because where you're going, you can't carry insecurity. You can't flinch when storms come. You can't be addicted to applause or afraid of isolation. God is refining you, not because he's distant, but because you're next in line. The pressure is prophecy. The crushing is confirmation. And I know you're tired, but chosen ones don't break under the weight. They birth something under it. This is not the end. It's the middle. The oil is being pressed out of you. And when it's done, you will be anointed for the very thing that's been testing you. What if your deepest pain right now is actually the sign that you're closest to the promise. This is the crushing before the crown, and if you're in it, that means you were chosen to wear it. Type 7. If the pressure has been intense, but your spirit knows it's not for nothing. The enemy thinks this is where you fall, but God knows this is where you rise. Part 2. When God starts pulling people away. It didn't happen all at once. First, the texts slowed down. Then the conversations got shorter. Then the silence got loud. You wondered if you said something wrong, if you were too much, too sensitive, too honest. But what if you weren't too anything? What if God was just pulling them away? Because not everyone can go where He's taking you. You prayed for next level, but didn't realize that next level requires next circle. And before God brings new people, He always makes space. Sometimes that space comes through a breakup, a ghosted friend, an unexpected fallout, and it feels like rejection, but it's really redirection. He's not punishing you. He's protecting your destiny, because that connection that once felt holy may now be holding you back. Their presence filled the room, but their absence, it's letting light in again. You're breathing deeper, praying clearer, feeling peace in places that used to feel heavy. And that's not coincidence, that's confirmation. God doesn't just remove who's wrong, He removes who's not right anymore. Even Jesus had to separate before miracles. Even Abraham had to let Lot go before God revealed the promise. So if people are falling away, let them. Don't chase what God is clearing. Don't beg to keep what heaven is blessing you to release. Who have you been trying to hold on to that God has been quietly removing? Sometimes obedience feels like loneliness, but in that space, God begins to surround you with what's aligned, anointed, and appointed. Type 404. If God has been pulling people away, and your soul knows it's not the enemy, it's preparation. Part 3. The restlessness that won't let you sleep. You've been waking up, and not because of noise. You check the time 3. Twice 3. At the 3. Or in. Same hour. Same ache. Same stillness. You try to go back to sleep, but your spirit is too loud. It's not panic. It's not anxiety. It's pulling, a quiet, constant tug, as if heaven is trying to get your attention. And maybe it is, because chosen ones aren't always called during the day. Sometimes they're awakened at night, when the world is still, when there are no distractions, when the soul can finally hear what the schedule drowned out. You've been feeling distant from what used to excite you. Places you once fit now feel suffocating. Things that used to fulfill now fall flat. You thought you were broken, but you're just being rebuilt. God is realigning your desires, rewriting your appetite, preparing your soul for something you can't even name yet. This restlessness isn't punishment, it's prophecy. Isaiah 43:19 says, "Behold, I am doing a new thing. Do you not perceive it?" The answer, yes. Your soul does perceive it, even if your mind hasn't caught up yet. And that's why you feel off. Not out of place, just ahead of your place. Because when God begins to move, He awakens your spirit before He reveals the next step. So if your peace feels interrupted, if you feel in between and can't explain why, you're not going backwards. You're being stirred forward. What if your spiritual restlessness is actually heaven's way of saying, get ready. You're not lost. You're not crazy. You're not too sensitive. You're being transitioned. You're being summoned. You're on the edge of something new. Type 333. If your nights have been holy and hard, and you know your spirit is shifting. Part 4. The door you didn't knock on, but got opened anyway. You weren't even looking for it. You weren't networking. You weren't begging. You had finally let go. And then it happened. An unexpected call. An opportunity you didn't apply for. A conversation that turned into a connection. A yes that found you without you forcing it. And in that moment, something in you paused. not out of fear, but reverence, because you knew this wasn't you. This was God, the door you didn't knock on, the one you didn't even know existed, just opened. And suddenly, it all started to make sense. The delays, the disconnections, the restless nights, the silence. They weren't random. They were the preparation for this divine appointment. Because when God moves, He doesn't need your resume. He needs your readiness. And when you're ready, you won't have to strive. You'll just step in. Proverbs 3:5-6 says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and He will direct your path." He didn't say hustle for it. He said trust for it. And now, you're standing in front of a door you didn't force open, because heaven already had the keys. What if the opportunity you're afraid to step into is the very thing you prayed for years ago? Don't shrink now. Don't second-guess the blessing just because it came easy. It came easy because God carried it. You don't have to manipulate divine timing. You don't have to manufacture a miracle. When it's yours, it finds you. Type open in the comments if a door has appeared and you know it wasn't your doing. You're just ready now. Part 5, The pressure was prophecy. You made it. You didn't even realize you had crossed over, because it didn't come with fireworks. It came with clarity. Not everything around you has changed, but something inside you has. You're not begging anymore. You're not explaining anymore. You're not striving anymore. You've been through too much to doubt now. And that ache in your chest, it wasn't heartbreak, it was holy pressure. Every battle, every night you cried silently, every time God felt far, every unanswered prayer was pregnant with promise. The pressure was not punishment, it was prophecy. He told you something was coming, but He had to press you first, strip you, silence you, sanctify you, because the old version of you couldn't carry what He's giving you now. The impatience had to go. The fear had to be exposed. The people who couldn't steward your heart had to be removed. It was never a delay. It was a divine countdown. You weren't falling behind. You were being built. And now, you don't just see the blessing. You are becoming the proof. Joseph didn't stay in the pit. He didn't stay in the prison. He rose to lead, to reign, to fulfill what was spoken even when no one believed him. And so will you. What if everything that crushed you was the exact thing that crowned you? You didn't miss it. You didn't mess it up. You didn't break. You were broken open, so the oil could flow. This is the season your wilderness becomes your witness. This is the moment you realize the pressure was never meant to bury you. It was meant to birth you. Type 7 if the pressure finally makes sense. You weren't being pressed for no reason. You were being prepared for the promise. It wasn't a breakdown. It was a breakthrough. Take a breath. Not everything makes sense yet. Not every question has an answer. But somewhere deep in your spirit, you feel it. The shift, the peace, the knowing. You weren't being punished. You were being prepared. Everything that looked like loss was heaven rearranging your life. You weren't abandoned. You were being aligned. That pressure, prophecy, that restlessness, a sacred alarm, that closed door, protection in disguise. You thought you were waiting on God, but God was waiting on you to let go, to trust deeper, to believe again. And now, this is not the end. This is the entrance. You're stepping into the fulfillment of what tried to break you. You're walking through the door you didn't even know how to pray for. And the most beautiful part, you don't have to force it. It's already flowing. You didn't miss your moment. You didn't lose the promise. You're not too late. You're right on time. What if the very thing you thought would break you was sent to build you? And what if everything that left was never meant to survive your breakthrough? If this message stirred something in your spirit, if you've seen the signs, felt the pressure, and still chose to trust, type 777 in the comments. Let heaven know I'm ready. Share this with someone who's quietly been carrying the same pressure. Subscribe for more whispered words like this. Not just content, but confirmation. Because you weren't just inspired, you were activated. It wasn't falling apart, it was falling into place. And now it's your time.